Before he left Europe, President Biden met with the Secretary General of NATO as well as leaders of the so-called Bucharest Nine, a group of Eastern European nations, all former Soviet states that for obvious reasons have concerns about Putin's expansionist aggression. During the meeting, the president reaffirmed that the United States and NATO will support Ukraine for as long as it takes, although Biden and other Western allies are still refusing to commit to providing Ukraine the fighter jets that it's been asking for. There are concerns about the supply of those jets as well as the risk of further drawing NATO into the conflict. But some in Ukraine believe the jets are key to turning the tide of this war decisively in their favor. This week, two former UK prime ministers, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, urged the current prime minister, Rishi Sunak, to send Ukraine those jets, meaning they could be the first to cross that threshold. Joining me now is the retired United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the former Director for European Affairs at the National Security Council. Colonel Vindman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. I want to ask you about this. You and I have discussed this before, but boy, these jets are being talked about a lot this week, including by a Republican congressional delegation that was right here in Kyiv. What's the case for providing the fighter jets to Ukraine versus not providing them?
The case for not providing him is this legacy of belief that somehow this is the system, this is the one that's going to somehow precipitate a Russian escalation and draw NATO and the U.S. into a broader confrontation with Russia. There is really no merit to that. I mean, it kind of makes for a good story, honestly, that we need to be alert to Russia's escalation. But in reality, there is no indication of it. Even Putin's own remarks this week on the heels of President Biden's visit amounted to really nothing, just a bunch of hollow words and posturing, no action taken in response to a kind of a firm show of support. The case for the jets is it's another in a series of important capabilities, in addition to tanks, in addition to long-range fires, that will give Ukraine the capability it needs to liberate territory and help win this war quickly. I think Ukraine is on a trajectory to win this war either way. It's a question of how long it takes and how much risk we bear. Do we allow things to develop for another 6 or 9 months? Maybe the Chinese step in. Do we allow things to develop organically and Russia takes some incremental escalation steps, poking and prodding to see for vulnerabilities? Or do we give Ukraine all the tools it needs now to be decisive on the battlefield and help bring this war to the negotiating phase much more rapidly? So it's a strong case for jets. Really a frankly flimsy case consistent with, basically the preceding arguments against jets.
Almost a year ago, you and I started talking because the night that Vladimir Putin launched the war, he discussed nuclear things. And every time he feels backed into a corner, he discusses nuclear things. So we all could have guessed after Joe Biden being here on Monday and then going to Poland on Tuesday and sort of kicking all the news coverage from Vladimir Putin that he was going to discuss nuclear things. The argument here is that every time he does that, there are people in the West, wherever they are in the political spectrum, who say, we can't risk nuclear war, so we need to back off. Does that strategy work for Vladimir Putin?
It does work for him to a certain extent, but with diminishing returns. I appreciate you calling it what it is, nuclear things. I mean, because it's not really meaningful. It's a rhetorical tool. It's meant to kind of get the U.S. and the West to generally self-deter. In fact, there is no real indication that Russia is now somehow ready to cross the nuclear threshold and precipitate what amounts to mutually assured destruction, a regime-ending step. If anything, the U.S. government has become increasingly confident that Putin is not interested in taking a step towards escalation and spillover in the short term, in the medium term, but in the long term, that becomes less clear. So nuclear things is an exact way to describe it. It's an interesting story. It piques people's curiosity, but there is no more substance to it now than there was a year ago. If anything, Russia is much, much more reluctant about a confrontation with NATO because it's having such a terribly hard time in Ukraine. It knows it only has one tool in its arsenal. It doesn't have a conventional arsenal that it could fight NATO with. It only has a nuclear arsenal. So things could quickly escalate. Bottom line, Russia is not interested in nuclear war. It's not interested in a confrontation with NATO. In the short term and medium term, dangers start to arise in the long term. That's why we give Ukraine everything they need to compel Russia to negotiate soonest.
Colonel Vindman, you know this country very well. You're from here. You know exactly where I am right now. You've been here right next to St. Michael's Cathedral. This is an interesting time in this city. It's Wednesday of this week that Putin was hoping to dominate the headlines. We haven't had an air raid siren in this city for something that feels like about 48 hours or so, which is uncommon. And there are people in this city and in this country expecting either some version of a new Russian offensive or some sort of escalated attacks on Ukraine. We're yet to see the new offensive. We've seen some things go on in southern and eastern Ukraine, but it doesn't feel like a renewed offensive. What are you anticipating for this week and the coming weeks?
So for this week, it's clear to me that Putin is going to attempt to launch a drone and missile barrage. It's going to be minimally effective, as it has been consistently with the advancing capabilities Ukraine's brought into its arsenal from the West. But it's another in a series of terror campaigns. He's going to do that to kind of rally mainly for his own domestic population. It's not going to have a meaningful effect on Ukraine on the battlefield, but for his own population, he needs to show some strength. It looks like Russia is already undertaking some form of an offensive. It's not precise. It's not focused on a couple of areas. It's diffused across the entire 700-kilometer front line. It is encountering massive resistance from the Ukrainians. The Russians are taking massive losses and slowly sapping their strength. There may be a surge somewhere down the road in a couple of months as it warms up. But ultimately, Russia's going to fail. Ukraine's going to return to a counteroffensive and then start to liberate territories like it did in Kherson and Kharkiv earlier last year.